I mean, Mahomes and Kirk Cousins definitely stole the show. It's really cool to see all the little things that Kirk did to simplify things. And now I want to hear Charles's counterpoint because I see him smiling over there. The
I
Mariota
also
Just
have a
those,
study.
just those,
PowerPoint.
just
So
those passive aggressive, I guess, when it came to Mariota, it just seems a little uncalled for.
I ain't in the mood. I ain't hit the groove. I ain't hit the mood.
What's up,
I ain't hit
everybody?
the stove.
It's a Win is a Win podcast again with you today. Today is a very special day because, in my opinion, the NFL season officially starts today because we are recording right when the NFL Hall of Fame game is about to start, and that signifies the start of the preseason games. I think we're all very excited for the NFL to finally start, which is awesome. We've all been waiting. And that kind of goes along with what we're going to be talking about today, too. So before I start, I'm joined myself, Sam Cookie, Charles H Double, and Maddie B over there. Charles and I do sound a little hoarse because we took a trip over to St. Louis for a few days and brought back some Germans with us. So we might sound a little bit stuffier than usual, but that's okay. We're diehard sports fans. We'll make it through. Don't worry about us. But yeah. So today we're gonna jump into back into our Friday Flick series with the quarterback Netflix series. We've covered episodes 1 and 2 already. Today we're gonna cover episodes 3, 4, and 5. We're gonna give our thoughts about it. Things we like to see, things we didn't like to see, and we will kind of explain to you guys why Mahomes is the GOAT. And yeah, without further ado, what did you guys like most about episode?
Wait, real quick.
Oh,
Um,
I'm going too far.
just wanted to, since obviously we haven't posted episode of us in a bit, we did our interview archive that lasted this past week. It was 7 total days, and I saw that the views are doing well on that. So I don't know if any of the actual interviewees saw that we reposted. I'm not too sure. Maybe Matt probably have an idea either, but we just wanted to say thank you guys for watching that, and we hope you guys enjoyed it because we knew we'd be on a little vacation, so we had some content still. But yeah, we're back. So just wanted to, before we jump into it, I wanted to do that little quick mention. So yeah.
there you go. Well, I will kind of go in with Sam's question. Um, Also, sorry to my boys, Sam Cookie and H Double, that you guys are both sick.
That's
So
okay.
big golf. I don't even golf claps. Big clap for the boys for rallying and wanting to do the podcast today. Um, so sorry if you guys hear a lot of my voice. I'm like, oh, dude, this guy sucks. It's like, well, that's what you're gonna get because my boys are just going through a little bit of the ringer right now.
Going through.
Yeah, but so we ended up doing episodes 3, 4, and 5. Obviously next week we'll do 6, 7, and 8. For 3, 4, and 5 though, I thought they were actually really good. Like the first two episodes, obviously I gave my ranking. I think what did I give, like a 9, I think, out of 10, I think is what I gave it. This one I would also say, this block, like this section 3, 4, and 5, I would also give. Oh, I never mind. I shouldn't do the ratings first. Um, I did like that they went through, obviously more of the quarterbacks. You can tell they're kind of at the mid-season, because in one of the episodes they played the Kirk Cousins Thanksgiving game against the Patriots, which I believe is I think that was like week 12 or 13 or something like that. So that was fun. Not as fun to relive because the Patriots should beat the Vikings, but Justin Jefferson made some great catches, and then very end, Mac Jones was not very good, as he was last year. So that was fun. Seeing Patrick Mahomes kind of go through that area of like becoming a dad again, because obviously he's already a dad, but then having his wife give birth and all that kind of stuff, that was a really cool look into, okay, how does this work during season and like what goes on with that. So that was pretty fun. And I liked Mariota's thing, but I would have to say I do feel like that is something that could have been improved during these blocks. It felt like in episodes 3, 4, and 5 was really heavy on Mahomes and Kirk Cousins and not as much as Mariota. And like I get it. Like obviously for those of you who know what happened in the NFL season last year, he gets benched and then, basically doesn't really play for Atlanta, after that. So to me, it felt like they should be doing more with his kind of content until he gets benched, because then obviously you don't have as much content, etc. So I'm kind of like, they leave us on a cliffhanger for episode 5. They just say like, oh, Mariota is benched but hasn't reported to the team, and you just kind of see him like just in the interview, kind of just like not looking blankly, but just like looking. Um, and so it's like, okay. So to me, that's kind of one gripe with it. It just felt like I saw a lot of Kirk Cousins and Mahomes, and not as much Mariota as I think could have been. Now, granted, in episodes 6, 7, and 8, totally get it. It's kind of getting to the end of the season. I mean, obviously, we all know Patrick Mahomes gets the Super Bowl, so of course, the later episodes, right? Probably episode 8, when they're really going through that playoff stuff, you're really going to see a lot of Patrick Mahomes because they have more content for him, and who doesn't want to see that quarterback go through that stuff. So like I already know like that's most of what episode 8 is about and everything, even though I haven't looked at any of the previews, anything. Like I just know that's kind of what's going on. But it felt like, man, if from hindsight, Mariota's getting benched, so why don't you use more of his stuff beforehand and stuff like that? So that was, I would say, my one gripe about it. Other than that, it was cool to see Kirk Cousins using like the mind stuff, like the mind reader type thing of like how he can improve his mind and how the mentality is. Also, it was nice to see just like the different lifestyles of the quarterbacks. Like obviously, Kirk Cousins super family centric. Patrick Mahomes and Brittany, I'd say, are a little bit more flashy and stuff. I mean, one of the cars they got in was a freaking Rolls Royce. You could see the little
Yeah,
stars up top. I
yeah.
was like, geez, okay, so they're going all out for that one. And then you have, Mariota, who they kind of focus more on him and his wife and kind of that process. But then again, you don't see him like too much anyways, because like they kind of skip through. They're like, okay, they're 4-4, and then next thing you know, they're like, freaking 5-7 or 5-8, and you're just like, was there nothing good in between there? So yeah, so that was kind of my kind of big synopsis of episodes 4, 5, and 6. But oh, sorry, 3, 4, and 5. But I did think that they were good episodes. I'll give my rating later and stuff, but like still a captivating watch. I would like to finish them all, but I obviously have to wait till our next episode. But very good overall.
Yeah, I also thought it was a pretty good little series of episodes. Definitely the first time when I was watching through it was episode 3, I believe. No, sorry, episode 4. When Kirk was just sitting in his car, I believe after he got done with like a workout or something, he pulled out the headset that you were talking about, Matt. I was kind of like, what is that? That's crazy. But yeah, no, all the recovery plans that each quarterback does is pretty crazy. And then along with episode 4, it's where they were covering all the different game plans and strategies that they go through before actual game day happens. And it's pretty ridiculous. I didn't realize all the mental work that has to go through to make all the different play calls. I already knew it was pretty confusing at first because I have no clue what they were talking about. But I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, you don't want the other team to understand, but there's so many like little intricacies that you have to remember right on the spot that it gives me a lot of respect for every quarterback in the league for having to know that whole mental side of the game plan along with the physical side. And it also doesn't help that you're practically on your own as a quarterback There's no one else that really plays with you. Sure, you do have backups and a backup to that QB too, but it's not really the same way. You kind of have to step up to the plate in that way. But overall, I thought the 3 episodes were pretty good too. It was a pretty captivating watch. I'm sure we're all a little bit more biased just because we're pretty big NFL fans. I'm obviously pretty hyped up because I'm obviously a big fan of Mahomes. He did have a lot of screen time, but kind of arguing with what Matt was talking about, I think they kind of did as good as they could have with Marcus Mariota. He didn't really seem that interesting of a QB. Like he's definitely on the Kirk Cousins side, but he's
Oh
also
my gosh.
he's not. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but he's not nearly as good as Kirk Cousins, and it kind of helped that he had that that cliffhanger in the 5th episode, the end of the 5th episode, where the head coach decided to start Riddler. I still don't really
Desmond
know
Ritter.
but yeah, I mean he had that going for him. He got to talk about his own little personal chef story, which is cool, I guess. He also talked about his wife and having a baby too. I thought it was weird that they didn't. I thought it was funny that they didn't cover that nearly as much as Mahomes, and whenever they had Mahomes Jr., I think that's his name. But yeah, I guess they could have covered that a little bit more with Mariota, but still overall, I mean, I think it was pretty fun to watch. There was some really good games that they covered throughout the 3 episodes too, like the Vikings Bills game in week 10, the Chiefs Chargers game in week 11, and then the Panthers freaking Falcons game. Those are all bangers to watch. So I feel like Netflix got a little bit lucky with all these 3 different storylines and how amazing of seasons they had. Mariota didn't really have an amazing season, but he had a very dramatic season. I'll say that. But I'll save my rating for the last 2. But pretty entertaining to watch. I'll say that.
Is it my turn? Should I go?
I think it's your
Okay.
turn,
Yeah.
Charles. If you can muster it.
So real quick, Matt, your point about Mariota, you said you wish that they had talked about his benching kind of already in these episodes that we've watched.
Well, no, what I was saying is they should have added more of Mariota in these episodes before his benching because obviously when you're writing the bench, that's obviously for a show anyways, not as fun to cover, especially if they're giving a young rookie QB time to play and you're like, okay, we're 5-8, probably not making the playoffs, right? So those next episodes, right? So you have 6, 7, and 8 left. 6 is probably the real crucial game. 7, you start going into the playoffs. Probably Kirk Cousins' playoff game is probably the ending of 7, and then the 8 episode is probably the off season of Kirk Cousins and the Falcons, etc. Plus Super Bowl run of Mahomes, right? And obviously, the Vikings and Chiefs went further in the playoffs in the season, and Kirk didn't get benched and did Patrick Mahomes. But as a director and a production crew, knowing that Mariota is getting, he's benched at, I think it was week 12, right? Or week 13, whatever it was. Week 14, I think is what it was, or week, whatever it is, right? You don't have content from week 14 on as much as you do for other guys. So what I would do is if you have more content of Mariota, kind of maybe go through that losing streak of like maybe seeing him get frustrated or him being like, dang, like this didn't go right, this didn't go right, right? So that way then it's like, how do they get to this decision of benching? And then that kind of gives you the overall perspective of one, how Mariota felt kind of during this losing streak. Did he think he might get benched? And then once he gets benched, what's that feeling? And then the future of probably, all that kind of stuff. That's what I would have liked. Just a little bit more of him. Just because they say, hey, it's a 3-quarterback show. We have Mariota, Cousins, and Mahomes. But honestly, it feels like it's been a 2.5-quarterback show. It's been Mahomes, Cousins, and then, Mariota, I forgot we have him. Okay, throw him in for like 5 minutes. That's what it felt like.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to ask that because I was going to make the point that honestly, and we touched on this the first edition of this when we did the first couple episodes, that we felt there was a lack of Mariota, and I would agree with you there. It still feels like there's a lack, but also at the same time, and this makes me like dislike it a little more. It feels like they're trying to stretch it out with Mariota's season 2 in a way, but like
Mhm.
it's still early, I would say, but it felt like they stretched it out in a shorter span than it could have been. So it was like a
Mhm.
double whammy, in my opinion, because it really did feel like they stretched his season out in the show. Like they were trying to find pieces to make it last, because maybe they didn't think they had enough content, or I don't know. I guess that's just how they
Well,
thought.
and to me, the thing that's weird is that you have 14 week. Like he got benched in week 14, right? Because they were 5-8. So
Yeah.
you have 13 weeks, same as Kirk Cousins, same as Mahomes, right? And like it feels like Mahomes is still on freaking week 9. I think is literally when the show ends. It's like he's on freaking week 9. You have Kirk Cousins on week 13, which totally fair, whatever. But he has a playoff run, so it seems like how does that make sense? Like to me, it's like almost they should be on the same time frame. You know what I'm saying?
And yeah, I had wondered, and I mentioned it in the middle of probably episode 4, but I was like, man, Mariota, he's only on like week 5, and Mahomes and Cousins are on week 8 or whatever already. And I'm like, why is he so
Yeah.
behind? And then I remembered, oh yeah, it's because he gets benched early in the season. And then these specific episodes we watched, it really felt like they rushed it, but they stretched it out the same, or tried to stretch it out the same time, and it just didn't flow very well. And so I wasn't a big fan of that. But going to the positives of what I liked about the episodes, I really enjoyed. I remember it was a specific scene with Mahomes, and I think it was against, I can't remember who it was against, but he broke down a specific play. I think it might have been about the Chargers defense. He broke down a specific play about
There's the
what the Chargers
Chargers.
like to do, and he explained all in great detail about how when you see this from, it might have been a nickel, he's going to blitz because he didn't pick up the guy in motion. And then
Mhm.
if I see that, I can call different protection. And if I have protection, instead of doing the check down, I can make the bigger throw down there. And that specific
Mhm.
scene I really, really enjoyed because he broke it down, and not in a necessarily a confusing way, but a way that would make sense for guys like us. It's like, oh, I can see what he's talking about. And so I thought that was really, really cool. And yeah, that was probably my favorite scene of all of them. And there were some other, I think just the whole thing was fun to watch. Kirk Cousins, I thought his physical recovery was really cool to watch because he took obviously a lot of hits during the season. So I thought that was really, really cool. And what I kind of noticed for the episodes was, it was titled episode 3 it was titled something with physical recovery. I can't remember what it
Mhm.
was. And episode 4 was titled like mind games, but that wasn't necessarily the episode. It was almost like the extra scoop on top, but it was still their seasons was the main point. But those little tidbits was like the extra bit, but that's what like they tiled the episode. So I went in thinking to be more emphasis on it. I don't have a problem with that not being the emphasis, but with that being the title, I thought that might be more of an emphasis. But yeah, I don't have a problem with that. So
You're saying with the mind games one or the other
well,
one?
I just thought they would have maybe more emphasis on mind games. Essentially, it wasn't I
Well,
would say the main focus still of the episode, if that makes
I mean,
sense.
I would say that episode is definitely more mind focused though compared to the other
Right.
ones. Like, I mean, you hear Patrick Mahomes going through his reads. You see Mariota how he gets to his thing. Kirk Cousins was talking about how he memorizes plays, how he sees things, stuff like that. So I mean, I would say that's definitely more emphasis, right?
Right.
Um, I do think it would have been fun if they would have done like the 3 different comparisons of okay, here's how Patrick Mahomes breaks down his film, here's how Mariota breaks down his film, here's how Kirk Cousins breaks down his film. Just because I feel like all of them probably do have a unique style, and see if they can catch different things here and there. Um, because definitely that scene with the Chargers is really cool because it's funny because you can see just how one play, right, to us, it's like, oh, a guy's in motion, okay, like whatever, right? But to him, he's seeing it from the up angle, like, oh, okay, so this guy does this, this guy does this, this guy does this. And then I bet you he watches probably 5 or 6 more plays and sees that there's another one like that. And oh, this guy does the same thing. Okay, cool. And so that also then makes you think about the defensive end. The defense might also look at that same play and say, crap, if I do this consistently, everyone knows I'm going to do this, right? So I think that's also a little bit of the mind game as well too. Like, okay, is this person switching up on me or is it not? So I thought that scene was probably one of like my favorite ones for sure, just because I think you could really go in depth and really describe a lot of things and maybe how these film sessions can really last like a day or two. Like, okay, actually going through it, here's what happens, here's how we do this, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and just to clarify my point, it's not something that like I'm critiquing on. It's just I was maybe expecting different, but I don't have a problem with that. And like you said, it was more, there was like that little, it was like the what made the episode unique compared to the others. I just thought with the titles, it might be more of a focus. But when I just thought about, the series is about their season, so it makes sense that they're still like their season is still the focus of it. I just thought it would be like a lot of mind games, but you still obviously saw some. But that was just clarifying that from my perspective. So nothing with a criticism on the actual how they did it. It was just, yeah, that's just what
Oh,
I
yeah,
thought
I
for
wasn't
sure.
like trying to like fight you or anything like that. I was just like, you know, just saying, oh,
Sorry,
I did think it was this way. You know what I'm
Sam.
saying?
Sam just gets me more now that Sam's joining. It just makes me more of a fighter.
Bro, I've even talked for like the past 10
I
minutes.
know. Oh, real quick, last thing, what I enjoyed as well, and I wonder if you guys picked up on this, but it was the Rams game with Mahomes, which by the way, I feel like they kind of
Oh, that
use
was your favorite? That was
No,
your
they use
favorite?
it. Well, one thing it was like, oh, he didn't have a great game because he's expecting a kid, which actually I
Hmm.
didn't know, but I remember that game. It was pretty bad, but kind of an excuse
Yeah.
also. I feel like just helping Mahomes look better. Anyways, no. At the end when he was like, "Hey, a win's a win," it wasn't a pretty, but he
Yeah,
said
no.
that, and I was
Yeah,
like, okay,
got a
I
little
see
shout out.
you. Yeah,
No,
No.
that was definitely probably the worst game played by Mahomes. I didn't realize it at the time either that Brittany was expecting at that time too. But yeah, I also liked the fourth episode a lot too. That's the mind game episode. I can kind of see what Charles is talking about just because it's more kind of like breaking down different plays, which guys like us would appreciate a lot more because we could probably understand it a lot more than a casual viewer. Personally, one of my favorite scenes in the whole 3 episode little series, when Andy Reid and Mahomes were talking about the lab plays that they discuss on Wednesdays. I thought that was really cool to see. Seeing those backyard like football plays come to fruition, actually seeing Mahomes and the Chiefs do it on the actual like game days too is pretty amazing to see. And them like breaking down plays like that is pretty cool to watch too. I just love how I'm definitely wrong when I say that, but the Chiefs seem like year after year to be able to pull those trick plays off successfully too. I mean, granted, they do have some plays that don't turn out as well as they expected, but I love that they like to take risks a little bit like that, and all behind a quarterback that knows clearly. He definitely proved in this episode that he knows what's going on. He has the mindset of a true QB, and that's what makes me respect him even more. Same with Brittany Mahomes, honestly. She wasn't as bad as she could have been this episode. She she did reveal that she is a part owner of the Kansas City women's soccer team, which is pretty cool. I did not know that. That I kind of have to give her some respect too. That she actually grew up in a sporty ecosystem too. I didn't know that at all coming into this. So it's pretty cool to see. And yeah, I mean, there's not much more room I can give for respect for Mahomes, but he earned my respect definitely. And he did have one bad game, but he crushed the Niners and he crushed the Chargers on prime time. Their division rival, and Mahomes had the balls to say that the division rivals are the toughest to prepare them for the playoffs. And he had He backed that up this season. I'll just say that. I don't want to spoil anything, but he backed it up.
I mean, I would like to say that I think everyone would agree with that because you play him twice, so like it's a fact you see him twice. I do have to say though, I think you do play harder against division opponents than non sometimes, just because it's like, okay, if I beat these guys, it helps us get to a playoff, right? Like, okay, here's the thing. If you, I mean, you can lose a lot of games, but let's say you go like 6-0 against your division. I mean, that means that you've given every team 2 losses at least. So you kind of spot yourself 2 losses if you beat everyone, right? So I think that's also something that you can go into. And obviously, if you're going to beat all your opponents twice, you're probably not losing too many games, unless you're in like the AFC South where all of them are like garbage. Um, but I wouldn't say that's really ballsy to say. I would say like that's just like kind of a fact if you like just follow football and stuff. Just because like the Ravens, right? I'm sure they think it's harder to prepare for like the Steelers and the Browns. One, it's kind of a rivalry type thing, but as well, oh, and the Bengals, but as well, it's because they're in our division. Same thing with the Patriots. Like, it doesn't matter if Miami is like 3-14 or 3-13 or whatever. Even when Tom Brady was playing, if we were playing in Miami in freaking December, I was like, this is probably going to be a loss. Not because I didn't think the Patriots weren't good. It's just for some reason they always had a good game plan or something. You know what I'm saying? So I would say division opponents are definitely harder. I would like to say that's probably common knowledge. I do think it is, super cool that Mahomes is able to do really well on primetime football. I also do think that, it does help being a little bit like, I don't know, like the best quarterback in the league as well. Like if you go back 10 years, any primetime game that Tom Brady's on, you're thinking he's probably going to win and probably destroy people, right? So I think there's also that too.
You're right. Um, another point I kind of want to make. This is all happening on the fifth episode, and it kind of goes along with why you guys both don't think they didn't the casted very well with Mariota's little timeline. It kind of seemed like Mahomes and Kirk Cousins was way behind, and Mariota was so far ahead in his weekly schedule. Well, I mean, it didn't really help with Mariota because he did go on that 4-game slump before the head coach decided to bench him for Ritter. And well, yeah, he didn't really. It didn't seem like he really did anything between that time period. The series pointed out that he had one really good game. He had that really exciting game with the Falcons and the Panthers, and then not a whole lot happened in between. Like there wasn't really a whole lot to spotlight, at least with the Mind Games episode. They probably could have covered it up, but whenever Mariota was training, he was just training with all of his other guys, just running uphill. That's about it. He didn't do anything really special or anything like that. So it might have been hard to cover, but I'm sure there's something else that the crew just decided not to take in for whatever exciting thing Mariota did. It was cool for them to at least talk about his background a little bit, for him being Hawaiian, and that scene where they were talking, him and his wife were talking about their wedding day and how they're all wearing different colors, and they have like a big quote of it now too, which is cool, I guess. But I mean, Mahomes and Kirk Cousins definitely stole the show. It's really cool to see all the little things that Kirk did to simplify things. And now I want to hear Charles's counterpoint because I see him smiling over there. The
I
Marius
also
Just,
got a
just those,
counterpoint.
just
So
those passive aggressive, I guess, when it came to Mariota, it just seems a little uncalled for.
is
That's
that
that's
your
all
only?
that's all I'm smiling about over here.
Yeah,
Like I
I
thought that
guess.
wedding thing was really actually touching, and then you just
Yeah, I
go,
thought it
"Oh,
was
that was
cool.
cool, I guess." And I was like, I thought that was really, really sweet. So that's just all
It
I was
was
doing over
very
here.
sweet. I will say that. Maybe I'm a little bit more on Mahomes and Cousins' side to get Mariota on the podcast. Maybe that's my
And
game.
I think we just need to start, instead of you saying I'm on Mahomes and Cousins side, we can just say Mahomes and end it there because that's what you are.
I am a Mahomes guy. That is true. He
Um,
did pretty solidify. He did solidify himself as the GOAT for these episodes. I will say that.
I don't really think he still finds himself as a GOAT. I think as a good quarterback, yes.
Okay.
As a GOAT quarterback, no, not yet. But that's okay.
Not yet.
That's for another time. Not yet.
He needs to have like a FaceTime call with like Tom Brady before he can say that.
I mean, hey, when you let me know when he wins 5 more. So,
Hey,
anyways,
he's got 5 more years in him. At least 5 more.
doesn't mean you win them all. Tom Brady went to 10, only won 7. So there you go.
True. Yeah. But
Your boy's already 2-1, so he has a lower percentage.
I guess that is true. The one did come to Tom Brady too.
There you go.
I think about it.
Um,
And then there's Mariota in the background. He's just
oh my gosh, dude, he's just dogging on him. I don't know. So for me, I guess to play as like a good advocate, as in like agreeing with Sam. I mean, maybe, or from Sam's point, to like say, oh yeah, maybe this could be it. Maybe they didn't have as much tape on him. Like maybe Mariota was like, actually, I want to be a little bit more private, not as full access, right? Maybe he didn't give them as full access as Cousins and Mahomes did. So that could be maybe a thing of why we don't have as much, on him. Like I said, don't know. I would assume if they do sign up, you're basically signing up all for the same thing, same access, etc. But like I said, don't know. I also do think that the mind games one, they definitely should have gone more in depth with Mariota because none of those guys were struggling with hearing rumors of being benched or this guy's not very good, right? And I think that's a huge mind game. Like Patrick Mahomes can play one bad game, and Andy Reid's not like he's not gonna say, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna maybe move on and go to Chad Henne." Like no one's gonna say that. Same thing with Kirk Cousins, right? No one's gonna say, "Kirk, you have one bad game. Okay, we're gonna go to Mike Glennon or whoever his backup was." What was it? Freaking was it Mullins or something from like the 49ers or whatever? Right, that backup guy. So it's like, okay, no one's telling them, "Oh man, you have a bad game. Okay, we're gonna move on." With Mariota, I mean, he had one bad game. Like they were 0-2, and they're like, I don't know, is Mariota the answer? And they go 2-2, and they're like, oh, he's playing really well. And then it's like an ebb and flow, ebb and flow. Like that has to be mentally challenging on top of learning a new system and all this other stuff. So to me, I feel like you definitely could have leaned into that of okay, let's really go in depth and let's see how someone reacts to saying, oh, you're getting benched, you're not playing well. Because I know if myself or let's say Sam or you, Charles, were getting told, oh, you could be benched, you're not very good, etc. Like I would have to think that does enter your mind and maybe you don't make certain throws or make certain passes or decisions because you're like, oh man, I don't want to make a mistake. Right. I think you have a shorter leash means you're more cautious. Whereas a longer leash, you're less cautious. Granted, Mahomes does a good job protecting the ball. Cousins, he definitely goes big or goes home a lot of the time, but he's still a good quarterback, right? So I do think there's part of that, and so I think I wish they would have done a little bit more of that, um, just because it would have been fun and interesting to see that dynamic. So
that is true. They definitely could have capitalized on more on Mahomes or not Mahomes, but Mariota's kind of definitely different timeline. Because obviously Mahomes and Kirk Cousins they didn't really face defeat a lot in the entire season. Meanwhile, Mariota was fighting for his starting job. It seemed like since the beginning of week one, and after each week it was just a win, a lose, and kind of just kept repeating from that point. And so maybe it was a reason that Mariota was just a little bit more reserved in giving out information like that because there was probably some points that they could have at least made. I mean, sure, Mariota didn't have as interesting of a backstory as talented as a QB even, but I'm not trying to make jabs anymore or anything. But
I
yeah,
mean, he's definitely talented. He's the one who's won a
no,
Heisman.
oh no, he's extremely talented.
I think the talent is
Also,
there. I think just some. I think for him, it's a lot of mental stuff. Because when you look at it, like Kirk Cousins, he was like, it's okay, whatever. Patrick Mahomes, same thing. He was like, man, I shouldn't have thrown that, but it's okay. But
Yeah,
when you
that's
listen
good.
and you see Mariota's body language after interceptions or mistakes, he just does like hangs his head down like freak, and you can see it bothers him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Same with when they get hyped up for games too. I might be wrong with this too, but it kind of seemed like Mariota didn't get as fired up as Kirk or Mahomes did either. Maybe he's just not as mentally in the game as the other two quarterbacks are in either. It would be really cool to see like the team like kind of point in on that a little bit more, but it's probably what you said. Mariota might be a little bit more reserved in talking about stuff like that because we also didn't really get to see things as well as that. We did get the scene where him and his wife were just memorizing play calls, but from what I remember, that was about it. It was just more Patty and Kirk stealing the show.
Yeah, any thoughts, Charles?
I feel like Marcus Mariota, that was a very up and down season in general. With a lot of their games seemed, I mean, you go back to week 1 in the Saints, and then even the Rams game week 2, then the Panthers game. They were just in a lot of and Chargers game. It was an up and down season. So I feel like it was a big mental toll in that regard too, alongside
Well,
of all the outside noise and then performance and stuff. So just their games in general, how some of them, they could have had those, I mean, easily 3 more wins than losses if some of those things go right. If he doesn't fumble
yeah,
snap against the
and
Saints.
you switch that, you're 8-5 instead of 5-8, right?
Yeah.
So like, and that's a big difference. Like at 8-5, do you think Mariota's still starting? I'd say so. Right, you're 8-5,
Mm-hmm. Missed that
right?
deep
So,
throw to Pitts. If he connects there, they'd probably beat the Chargers. And then they ended up still beating the Panthers, so that obviously still ended up being a win. But and then the Rams game too, doesn't he throw a pick or something, or
in the
some
end
sort of
zone, I think, or
turnover?
red zone or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
that doesn't, if they're able to convert, which of course comes down to performance in those regards. But yeah, just an
I
up and
think
down
it's my game
season.
for sure.
Up and down season, definitely.
So we'll kind of go into kind of like concluding thoughts, rankings. I don't know. I feel like this discussion has been really good, boys. It's like time has been flying. Um, and hopefully, Sam, you don't think I'm coming at you because I'm not. I just like giving other perspectives because I mean, obviously, to me, like I like the show. It is cool to see Patrick Mahomes. I mean, like you said, I'm not a big like. It's hard for me to root for Patrick Mahomes because he's on the Chiefs, and I'm just not a Chiefs guy. But I appreciate what he does, and what he does is special. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So like, I'm not trying to throw shade at any person or all that kind of stuff. It's just like those are some things I'd like. So if you feel like I'm coming at you, I'm not. But when it comes to rankings, give us for this block the 3, 4, and 5 episodes what you would rank it out of 10. Let's start with we'll go with Charles and then Sam and then myself. Is that good?
Going with rankings.
Sure.
Yeah, go with rankings. Maybe explain maybe why you didn't give it as high or maybe low grade, and then we'll just continue, and then we should just conclude it pretty much, boys.
Well, I'll just say Matt is kind of graceful, not coming at you, Sam, but I'm going to come right at you and say Mahomes is a
Lay it
bad
on.
actor.
Lay on.
Oh,
No,
He's a quarterback. How is he
no,
supposed
I'm
to
just
act?
kidding.
Come on,
I'm
Charles.
reaching there. I'm reaching. No.
That was a reach.
Rating for these 3, I would probably give it. I still feel like the flow in general is not as cohesive as I would like. And I do obviously the Mariota handling, I don't think was the best. Really did. I mean, I'm obviously big NFL fan, so that helps. And there was a lot of things I did like. So I think last time I gave it a 7. So I'm gonna bump it up a little bit, and I'm gonna give it an 8 because I think some of the things that were covered, physical part, mental part, I do actually wish there was more about being a dad in there in some respects, but with those aspects, I liked them more than the first couple that was portrayed in those episodes. So for that, I'm gonna give it an 8. But yeah, cohesiveness with the flow is still a little for me. I don't know. I just kind of wish it, would flow better. If you weren't a football fan, for example, I don't think you would really have a gist. I know you got to kind of be a football fan to understand, but if you were not necessarily, or just a casual sports fan and you kind of knew about football, I still feel like it'd be a little hard to follow with just the timing of it all and all. So, yeah.
Sam?
So, am I only giving a rating for 3 or the whole?
For 3, 4, 5, so like the whole block, like that block. So episodes 3, 4, 5 combined, what's the
Ooh,
rating?
real
Oh,
quick,
okay.
if I was to give it overall, because I gave the first one a 7, this an 8, I'd be at 7.5. So overall, it's at a
Yes, you would.
7.5 right now. Continue,
There you
Okay.
Sam.
go.
Okay. Well, I will continue. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did think the producers did as good as they could with the pacing throughout the show. I mean, obviously, I keep beating the dead horse at this point. Mariota had a little bit of a slumping season compared to Mahomes and Kirk Cousins, but that's okay. I mean, it was still pretty entertaining throughout all the episodes. I thought it was especially fun with the first 2 episodes, 3 and 4, just because it kind of focused more on Mahomes and Kirk Cousins, and they actually got to see their plans go to fruition and how it all came to be, which was pretty entertaining. 5 wasn't very exciting. I mean, it did end up with that cliffhanger with Mariota, and to be fair, that was probably the most exciting thing that included him throughout the 3 episodes. But overall, though, if I were to give it a rating, I did think it was pretty entertaining, all in all. I mean, as an NFL fan, I would probably rate it a little bit higher than most people would, but I would probably give it probably an 8. I think it was a pretty fun watch. I mean, I was happy to watch all the episodes for a second time at this point. I'm not afraid to out myself on that, but I thought it was fun. It kind of made me excited to see what happens in episode 6 with the ending there too.
Real quick before you go, Matt, a great point about episode 5. When I think about it now, it didn't stand out like 3 and 4 did.
Mhm.
So good point there, Sam.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Sam. I think episode 5 does drag the ranking down a little bit, but I think it's a bridge episode. You know what I'm saying? So I think if 5 and 6, if we did like 3, 4, and then 5, 6, maybe our rankings might be a little different. But I do think 5 is that bridge episode to where, okay, we're shifting gears from we have one quarterback getting cut or not cut, but benched, kind of fighting for the playoffs. I think that's what episode 6 is about, etc. So definitely for sure for that. I do agree with Charles. I feel like it is a little rushed, and for some people, aka Mariota, I think is rushed. I think they're kind of just waiting for him to kind of get out of the show a little bit, and let's move on to Patrick Mahomes and Kirk Cousins. Um, However, the mind games and the physical portion I thought was very interesting. And Kirk Cousins' comments of saying, "Oh, you absolutely need to be smart or at least have some college," I think is really true. I mean, having those guys know all that stuff, I mean, that is a talent in and of itself. I'm not going to buck the trend. I'm going to be very bland and boring. I'm also going to give it an 8 out of 10 as well. That's what I was going to give it before these guys said anything, and I'm going to give it now, even after they said stuff. I think I gave the first episode a 9, the first two 9 out of 10, so I'm at an 8.5 overall. And I'd say that's about right. You know, 85% I think is a good portion right now. The cliffhanger does leave some excitement, so I am excited to watch 6, 7, and 8. My prediction is it's going to be a little bit of a higher rating just because we do get to do the, award ceremonies and Super Bowl stuff like that. But yeah, as of right now, 8 out of 10 for 3, 4, and 5, and 8.5 overall out of 10. So
Nice.
any other comments before you peace out, everybody?
No, I mean, one comment to give, I guess. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, Matt, with saying Mariota got cut. Technically, he didn't get cut from the team, but it was also revealed that he just straight up left the team and just kind of ghosted them after he found out that he got benched for Desmond Ritter. which is going to be cool to see for episode 6. But all in all, yeah, I think the episodes were solid. The last plethora of episodes are going to be a lot more exciting because a lot more stuff happens, and the timeline won't be super weirded out too, because we'll at least get to see what happens to Mariota. Obviously, we kind of know with the season already over, but at least hopefully they still get to cover a little bit of what happens with him, and then Mahomes and Kirk Cousins are still going to go along with their seasons and move into the playoffs and get that ring. But
Get that ring.
That ring. But no, I'm excited for the last 3 episodes. I think it'll be fun. Might not be as fun for someone like Charles because they get to see Mahomes get another ship, but that's no problem.
Well, on that note, thank you everybody for listening to A Win is a Win podcast. Hopefully you also caught that phrase. I believe it was episode 4, I believe is when it was said.
It was.
Yeah, episode 4 of Quarterback, the show that we're watching. Thank you all for listening. Thank you guys for re-listening, or for first-time listeners listening to our interviews that we've done with either current or former players, whether that be collegiate, professional, high school, etc. We hope to get some more of those. So that'll be pretty exciting. And we cannot wait to roll some more episodes out for everyone. And we appreciate you guys. And this is Sam Cookie, H Double, and Matty B signing off. See you guys. Peace.
What episode number real quick?
26, right?
20. I don't know, actually.
Oh,
I can't remember which episode it is.
I thought it was 25.
Oh, gosh. Well, episode number 20 something.
Yeah, okay. See you guys. Peace.